too. I hear dead people.
It's not that late.
No, shit. You know what? I get home from work, and I worked today, right? And I got back, and I was like, I'm beat, man. I'm tired. But I got two watches in the mail from the U.S. So,
JD, I heard a rumor that you're retiring soon. Any truth to that?
yeah, you heard that, eh? Yeah, you know what? They don't want me to, but I think I'm gonna hang it up from work, probably mid-April. That's the plan, and then maybe take the summer off. Maybe do contracting work, stuff like that. Don't know, right?
Nice.
But the watch working's picking up, which is, it either rains or it pours, right? And now it's starting to pour. I got all kinds of requests to do work, and two showed up yesterday in the mail, and another guy wants me to. He says he's a pivot breaker, eh? He says he's a king of breaking pivots on watches, and he's got 3 or 4 of them that he wants balance staffs replaced. So you're Patrick, right? So that's your so maybe we've been on before. We're waiting for, I think, Chris, I think, is coming too today, and he'll be here in a second. But
who's not wearing a hoodie?
Oh shit, yeah.
Patrick, you're not wearing a hoodie.
You didn't get the memo.
No.
There actually was no memo. It's all accidental. So Patrick, you're a new watchmaker, are you, or are you an old watchmaker?
I've been doing this for a couple of years. I kind of picked it up over COVID, and like you said, thousands of dollars later in tools. I can kind of swap the camera here. I can kind of show you my setup. So sure. I'm actually using full microscope here for my bench.
And you got a camera on the microscope too, right?
No, I don't, because I don't stream or anything. But this is kind of some stuff I'm working on now. This is kind of some projects that I've had, so.
That's a nice.
Waltham 7 jewel.
It's a nice mat, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it because I wish this was full size. This is I guess some Chinese Amazon circuit board thing, and I guess I wish this was completely flat and it'd be much better but other than that, it's good because you don't always have to use the movement pad. Because this is soft, you can flip the movement around and not worrying about breaking a sweep second pivot. So
and
it's nice.
Yeah, and it's clean and well organized, which I like.
Yeah, well, it's clean now, but as I buy buy watches off eBay for my addiction, then I get them in the mail and do a quick triage with them and see what's wrong with them, and then make a little note, put them in a little baggie, and put them in my box. I probably got like 150 project watches right now. So
it is an addiction.
Yeah, it's and finally, I got to the point where I gotta fix some of this shit, and I guess so then I fixed. I think this was my first one I did. I actually fixed this year. This was a Ben Russ Swiss watch.
Yeah.
It turned out pretty nice. It's original dial. I actually got a little bit of a rate problem with it. It was running good when I first did it, then it started speeding up, and it ain't magnetized, so I have to take that apart again. This one is a nice Lord Elgin. This one, the lugs were all messed up on it, but I filled it with solder and polished it. And, it had a little bit of water staining, so I lacquered the dial, kind of restored it. So, it's definitely wearable. Definitely has the patina on it, so it's kind of cool. I wish, this one, I guess this was my second watch I did. And then the third watch I did was this Elgin here.
Those are nice vintage pieces.
That could see pretty good.
Yeah, this is
that's nice.
5.5. No, what is this? This is their Elgin tank, and the dial is original. It's immaculate. And this was a 554. No, not 554. 554 is their 60. This is like a 559, 557.
Yeah, you're addicted.
This is the 7. Yeah, this is like a 17 jewel. Hand-fitted the crystal. The case is perfect. Original band. Really nice watch. But my mom says, she goes, that's a women's watch. I told her, no, vintage watches are really, really small, but I guess I kind of have to, I don't know, it takes a taste. And then I fixed this one. This one I've been wearing a lot. This is a 1957 Mito automatic multi-fork power wind, 17 jewel. paid. This is probably one of the first watches I bought. And it was like so. It was supposedly new in the box, and
Hey, what's the
but
what movement's in that? If it's a
nine
7,
it's a 917p.
who's the
So
maker of that?
um, I'm not. Well, I think Nito makes. I don't know if they
Okay.
subcontract. I don't know if they subcontracted with like Fontamillion or an AS. I'm not sure.
That's
I
an
think.
early automatic. 57 is right on the cusp, I think.
Well, I think I got a whole bunch of bumper movements I bought
Oh,
too.
right. I
I
mean,
got
that's bidirectional.
yeah.
Is that
This
a
is
bumper,
yeah.
did you say?
No, that's a full rotor. Yeah.
And it's
So.
bidirectional?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Because I
works
thought
really
that
well
was a
actually.
Phelps. Anyway, yeah, not an expert
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. With that, Dr. Ranfit passed away, so there's the pink pages have gone, but there's another one that somebody downloaded the database before he died.
Yeah,
Was
I
it
saw that.
ranfit.org?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
So
I'm really sad that that's gone. I just was checking it actually while you were talking to see if by chance it came back
no,
because your
it is
watches
back.
remind me,
Yeah.
your watches are a lot like a lot of the watches that they had in the
Hmm.
marketplace on Ramp's pages were those kind of 1950s really good bargains, not in good
Hmm.
shape, but they would be great for working on, but I hope it comes
Yeah.
back. It came back once after he died. It could
Well,
be.
it's all migrated now. It's ranfit.org. So you
Yeah,
have
but
and
that's unofficial. I think that's unofficial. I think that because I reached out to his email address
yeah.
after he passed away, I was going to try to hook him up with some people in Switzerland to archive
Hmm.
the his own site, and I knew that other people were working on. They had just kind of grabbed the database and were reformatting it on GitHub.
Right.
But anyway, it's
Well, at
good.
least at least it's still available to some
Yeah,
extent. That's the thing because it's so much information you hate to lose it.
yeah.
And this is
Are you
I
are
can
you
show you my
talking about the ramp movement database? I
yeah.
think of it as the pink website. So, okay, so I always thought that was available, and I've been using it as a resource. Has that gone down? Has it changed?
Well, the guy in Germany passed away, and I get that so it was up for a while and it came back, and I guess it's down for good, and I guess there was another guy some on some watch forum downloaded the database and he
Mm-hmm.
uploaded and he created a new website ranfit.org or something like that, and it has
Hmm.
all the same stuff in it. It's just it's organized a little bit different. I think I like the way it was the old page. It was a lot more user friendly, I thought, because everything was on one page and one screen, and while all the stuff on the new one you got to kind of scroll down. Yeah,
Hmm.
I could do more
I have
show
to
and
check
I
it out.
could do more. Yeah, I could do more show and tell if you want.
Well,
What's
JD,
that,
what do you
JD?
got
You're on
going
mute.
on?
What's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, late. You're on mute, JD.
Uh, well, maybe not. Maybe his mic's all messed up.
Well, JD's
Yeah,
going
mute.
off of
There we
mute.
go.
I'll do
You can hear me now?
I'll do a little show and tell.
Yeah.
You hear me now?
So,
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We can hear you, JD.
that's okay. This is like work when people put me on mute. It's the same thing.
Oh wow.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, look at that.
I'd swear at you, but I
it's
don't
a
want to.
rounding up tool.
Yeah, that's.
So,
How did you
I'm
get
working
that?
on
Like, where did you get that? eBay or?
eBay. Yeah. Actually, it was a gentleman in Estonia
Yeah,
was selling it on eBay. It was generally complete. It didn't have
yeah.
the cutters.
How much? 1,000?
Too much.
1,500.
But I also got a set of these cutters,
Yeah.
a couple of sets of cutters because they weren't complete. But actually, between the two sets I have, they're generally complete. So anyway,
Wait,
I'm
I didn't
working on a.
understand what that is, though. Can you repeat what it is?
Sure, yeah, it's a topping tool. So basically, you've got your teeth on your wheels, and so if the teeth get damaged, it'll allow you to recut the roundness of each of the teeth. It won't cut
Hmm.
new teeth, right? It self propels based on the predefined indexes that are
Yeah.
cut into the wheel. So you won't be able to cut a blank. But if you have a wheel, and let's say they're all rectangular teeth, you can actually round off those rectangles into the profiles that you need. And the cutters themselves are shaped with the profile, the really common profiles of teeth, and they come in different thicknesses and sizes for various teeth. So the quarter repeater that I'm working on, the minute wheel actually like looks like it's stripped. So like the mainspring must have released. Actually, what actually happened was one of the pinions broke loose of the wheel. It was like the third wheel or the second wheel. And so all the power just kind of released all at once, uncontrolled. And
how old is this watch?
Late 1800s.
So they didn't have the safety pinion yet. Okay.
No, definitely not. It's a Goliath. So like this is how big it is. It's pretty huge, and it comes in a carrying like a display desk case.
Okay.
And so the teeth kind of like got flattened, like as it got rounded out. So I have to trapezoidally cut out a piece of the wheel, put a new piece of brass in, maybe solder it in place, file it down to fit, and then my slotting file happens to be the right can produce the right gap. So I am going to kind of eyeball the index because I don't have the big index wheel on my lathe to do it, and I don't have a fly cutter or anything. I'm not set up like that on the lathe. So it's only like 4 teeth, so I think I can just kind of eyeball it and get it to work. It's only the minute wheel, so it should be fine. And then I'll use the rounding up tool to actually profile the teeth when I'm done.
Yeah. That's a real find you have there. There's people that collect those. I've seen guys with like 50 of those things. There's a YouTube video with a gentleman that's going through his little museum of rounding up tools or topping tools, right?
Yeah, I've seen that video. That's a good video.
I've looked at them over the years thinking, but I was really wanting to get something for my lathe to allow me to make a wheel, right? It's still the desire. I've got the books and everything else. I figure I can do it. I just need to spend the money on the tool, and that's an expensive tool. So
one of the things also that worries me about those tools, because there are a lot of them in Switzerland, but so many of them, you have no idea if they've been used in the last 100 years. So they could have been sitting in a museum, and they could be missing a lot of stuff. Yeah. So like, I'm super psyched that Chris got one, because I'm sure he'll make some good videos about it, and we'll see how they work, and then other people can like look at what's going on with his, and it'll help us evaluate other things on the market to see if all the parts are there, and that each of those machines gets more and more complicated. Like the lathe is already tricky enough for me to figure out how the hell it works. But
hey, JD, I got a comment on you since I'm talking to you directly here. So let me switch my camera. You're talking about wax shellac, wax shellac, and not de-waxed. So this is I don't know if you can see it, but this is de-waxed shellac.
So seeing that you're here and you seem to know about shellac, right?
I bought this off Amazon. This is the same bag you have, but I diluted it in denatured alcohol, and there you go.
This is this bag of stuff then?
Yeah. No, the other one that you had.
Oh, the other one turned out into.
Yeah, you said it was waxed.
Yeah.
Right, well, but that stuff. But look, this is the stuff that this works. I mean, it dissolves nicely.
And that's the same bag of. Let me reach back here. The same made in China bag of shellac that you had.
Well, I don't know. I got the dark purple or the garnet or whatever, then here I bought some stuff from the U.S. that's Jets, and this is the stuff when it was diluted. This has wax in it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you see the cloudy color in it, but both of those things I use denatured alcohol in.
Yeah.
So yeah. I saw that, and then it just so happened I was working on a Gruen 1930s Gruen 707, and the long story short with that one is that it's really nice movement, by the way, and I can show you guys really quickly if you like.
Hey Patrick, you buy that shellac? You don't raise your own lacquer bugs?
No. Well, I mean, I can show you. I can show you the bag here. I mean, I transferred it because it didn't have a Ziploc on it. Well, but this is the stuff I bought from Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
This is that.
It's enough for like 7 lifetimes.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, you only can buy a bag, but see, I also originally bought this stuff. I originally bought this, and this was that cloudy color. So then when it was cloudy, I knew it had wax in it. So I, got rid of that. Or
the stuff I made, Patrick, never hardened. This is the blob that I put in the video that I poured out, and this is it like a week later, and it still isn't hard. It's still like
mine's mine hardens. Actually, even the wax stuff. I mean, if you look here, I was testing it on a piece of paper, and it hardened right there.
Yeah, I know you got the right stuff.
Well, I don't know. I guess denatured alcohol is the key.
I think it is. Yeah, I used like 100% or 99% basically rubbing alcohol, which is no good, right?
Yeah.
But the
So
adventure,
99%.
the adventure will
99%
start.
IPA doesn't work.
What's that? The IPA doesn't work.
IPA wouldn't work.
I don't think it will. I was told, like Sonny Morehouse said, that IPA will work, but I didn't have the de-wax flakes. That was the major issue, I think. So I really don't know the combination. So the next, I've got some denatured coming from the U.S. I'm in Canada, and they stopped my denatured alcohol at the border. Dayton?
Hey,
Dayton, you're going to say something?
Guys, even though I know a tiny bit about shellac, I think it might be interesting if JD, if you could just think about a viewer watching this and explain what the hell you guys are talking about.
Yeah. So
are you talking about like adding a solvent to make it fluid and then letting it dry?
Yeah.
And
so
using it like a glue.
I'll start at the very beginning, okay? Just like I did in my meeting today on IT. so the challenge here. So I was putting in impulse jewels into roller tables, right? So you've got your roller table, you got an impulse jewel. I had a watch movement. I'm not going to pull it out, but I have a watch movement that I didn't know had a loose impulse jewel, and and it had been returned back. I told you about that a week ago. So I was going to do my traditional method of taking off the roller table, right, popping it off, and then taking my little, I'd call it my Jurassic Park tool because it's got the big beak on it, and then you heat it up, and it heats the roller table up, and you put the shellac on, and you put the jewel in. And then Sonny Morehouse wrote me, he said, hey, why don't you use liquid shellac? So I said, okay, what the hell's that? So, because I had been doing the other technique that's in the old vintage watch books I have for years, right? So the theory was that if you could make this liquid shellac, and there's another gentleman, what's his name, Mark, I think, who's got a watch repair tutorial channel, who has a video
the guy with the beard.
Yeah,
No. It's Mark Lovick. There's another guy that's in the Carolinas.
Yeah, Mark Lovett's in Thailand, right?
Yeah.
The British guy in Thailand, and then the other Mark, I think, is they got the watch repair tutorial. Anyway, regardless of that, he said what you do is you mix up, you take denatured alcohol, right, and you mix up a portion of this shellac out of a bag, right, and you grind this down fine, you mix it up, and it finally turns into some kind of a liquid, right? It's like a consistency of a glue, right?
Yeah.
And then and then from Sonny Morehouse was saying you just use that and you put it on the roller table. Well, the balance and roller table and hairspring are all still attached. Well, this other gentleman took off the roller table. He put the roller table on a bench block, like one of these. Grab a bench block here, really fast. Put him on one of these blocks here, like this, and then just to steady it so it's flat. And then he put a little bit of that liquid shellac in the hole, and then just rested the jewel down on the top, right? And of course, the technique for the jewel I've used before. You put a little spit on your tweezer, and you just pick the jewel up with the tweezer. With the spit will hold the jewel on the tweezer. That's an old trick. So I used that before. So do that, and then you push the jewel down. You put the liquid shellac on, you push the jewel down, and you just let it rest for like an hour. And if you've got good liquid shellac, it'll become a little bit firm, right? And then after you've done that, the next thing you would do is turn that around. And what he did was he put it into the, you guys know what that clamp looks like, right? It's I'll bring it out anyway.
Beaver tooth clamp?
I'll bring it out anyway for viewers, right?
That's this thing.
I got so many damn tools.
You guys need to have this little tool. That's a
good one. So you put the roller table on this thing, which Chris just brought out, right? And very carefully, don't lose that roller table in the middle, because if that when you're squeezing the roller table in there, if it's not exactly in the center, because there's two small grooves on the upper and lower part, it'll fly on you. And then the final thing is to take the liquid shellac and put it on the top of the jewel, like the short end that's already flat. So the table's like this, the jewel's on the bottom, and the part you put the liquid shellac on the top, and then you heat this up, which is what he was doing, which Mark was doing in his video, or what Sonny is doing is that you just wait. And then someone else I read uses a light bulb, right? To actually
Actually, I think you need to heat it.
evaporate the
Alcohol, right? Because I put it on my pallet fork, and I let it sit overnight, and I came back, and it was still kind of soft. So then I put it on my alcohol lamp, and then evaporated the rest of that alcohol, and then it's hard.
and it hardened it up. Yeah. So that's what this
Yeah.
Mark guy was saying to do. So I was trying. I wanted to do that technique. I could have fixed this watch 2 weeks ago, but I just want to try this out and then videotape it and see. I want to see it working. And he said the value behind the technique is that when you're not using that technique, you have to play with that jewel, and you play with the angle of that jewel when it's in the roller table to make sure it's absolutely vertical, right? That other technique, he said, when you turn it upside down, you push down, the flat part of the jewel aligns with the flat part of that of your bench block, right? And then it's absolutely flat. So that's the only thing. So that was the adventure, and it's still an ongoing thing. So
Another thing too,
curious
JD.
if
Go ahead.
I'm curious if there's any difference in the shellac after it cures, whether you're using heat to soften it or whether you're using alcohol to soften it. Like I wonder if, does it affect like JD, you showed that piece of floppy shellac.
Yeah.
I wonder if, the curing process, it seems like you'd have a longer working time to position your part if you use alcohol.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's a strength issue, once it cures. I don't know if there's any.
liquid
Not if you evaporate it. Is from what I'm seeing. Mine's perfectly hard.
Okay.
Because the shellac itself will remain. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's
In fact, I just fitted them. I got to test them out in the movement to see how it is. Have you guys any?
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Patrick.
No, I was going to say, have any of you guys done a pallet fork yet?
Made one or?
No, just set the jewels in them and adjusted it. I mean, because that Bergeon's got that $2,000 tool with the micrometer on it that allows you to adjust that, and I don't know, that's a hard swallow.
Yeah,
I saw
Dayton's
that on,
done it.
I shoot watches.
Yeah, I've replaced a
he did a video
jewel.
on
I've
that
replaced
recently.
pallet fork jewels, but I don't have the tool. I eyeballed it.
Yeah,
I bought one of those tools recently for $30 in Zurich, and I did a video like a week ago about it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just removed the jewel and I put it back at the same distance using the micrometer, but it works.
Yeah. And the slot, it almost fits where it was, right? If you get the right jewel. If it's a loose jewel and if you're lucky enough to find it in the movement, like if it disappeared and you have to go find the damn thing, right? Then it's not a problem. But I've got tons of jewels. I've got bags and bags of different types of jewels. The seats jewels, right?
Yeah.
I've got 3 big cases of these seats jewels with all of
I do too.
all of the little
I do too.
things there. Yeah, I got tons of those things, and I only use them every now and then, right? You only need them every now and then, but when you need them, you need them. Right?
I usually don't go to them until I got another little stash that I try to use them up because they're the random shit. But I hate going to them because I try to figure out what size it is first, and then I usually put that one back in the tube, and then I go to my random selection and I find something that'll work. Because I hate to use those up because those are measured and you know exactly what they are. It's just if I have to use one of them, go ahead.
Use that as a last resort. I'm the same way because those kits are expensive.
Well, you can still buy the jewels, but they're like $10 or $15 a jewel. I guess if you need it, you need it. But,
but it's nice to know that your kit is there with everything in it in case you need it.
I've had customers that ask me to replace a jewel. I don't like doing that, right? I actually want to work on a full watch. I don't want to do a partial job like the guy who wrote me yesterday morning, I think, and asked me if I could fix all these balance staffs for these watches that he broke, right? The king of breaking balance staffs. And I haven't responded to him yet because I got to really think about this. And the guy that gave me these 2 pocket watches, this one is a Waltham, but it's got it's a see-through case in the back, right? So it's a salesman's case. So it's a Waltham movement in the front with a salesman's case in the back, right? So it's a pretty watch. But he had a bunch of other Hamiltons, and he was telling me that the Hamilton was, it was under 1 millisecond beat error, and he was all this stuff. And the only thing I can do is make that run worse, right? And the fear is you're going to get something that's from a customer that's running really well, and for some reason you give it back. You've cleaned it, you've done everything you can do, and it's running worse. And then you get big complaints. So I'd rather have broken stuff, and I'd rather not doing piecemeal jobs, because I did a piecemeal job for a guy in Europe once, and in England actually, and it was stressful, right? Because he just sent me the balance cock, the balance, and 2 plates and nothing else, right? So I could fit it, and I did the job. It took a long time, but you don't get the satisfaction that you actually got the watch working again and this sort of thing. So,
right.
so
That's
anyway,
a good point.
So just one point. So Dayton sent me some topics here, right? I think it was you, right, Dayton?
Uh-huh.
So in 2 a.m. in Switzerland right now, and God bless you for staying up again. Thank you very much on a Friday night, right?
No problem.
The first thing he said that basically is true. Like, how do you get in the right mindset? And he said, or change your mindset if you're like me. That's what you said, right, Dayton? To slow down when you work on watches and be very deliberate. And what do you do when you sit down at your bench? So we'll go around and get some opinions here on this.
Okay.
Right, so maybe Mike, can I get Mike first?
Sure. Oh gosh. So I've been doing this, I guess, going on 2 years, and I found I have a very difficult time working on watches in the first 2 hours of the day. Now, I recently put two and two together, and I think it might be coffee or caffeine related.
Yeah.
Physically, I really think that while I've been drinking coffee every day for, I don't know, 40 something years. Maybe I'm just getting older, or maybe watchmaking is a challenge for me. But I find that, just calming down, getting off the caffeine, it's almost like the antithesis. I want to start my day and get fired up, but it's really hard to then get into watchmaking. And I find from like noon up until dinner time just is the sweet zone. So, is that diet, physical health? Yeah, I guess so. Physical health, mental health. But I threw some decaffeinated coffee pods in with my bucket of, high test, and I've been kind of mixing that up in the morning, and I actually feel like I'm a little bit more steady, and I'm more ambitious to get to the bench early in the morning.
You're not
So,
you're not as anxious, basically, right? When you get there, because when you're anxious
well,
and you're a little
well,
nervous because you're anxious, it's not a good
I,
situation
I
in the
think
end.
I think there's the anxiety, and then there's the frustration when you're messing up, when you're not keeping your screwdriver in the screw slot.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm also,
you know the trick for that, Mike, right?
what's that?
You take tweezers, right, and you put your screwdriver in there. You go like Richard Parrott, watchmaker,
Yeah.
and that's, I'm telling you, that was, even though as corny as that is,
Yeah.
sometimes you get those goofy screws that don't have the little starter tip,
Hmm.
and that works great because you're stabilizing your screwdriver. So then you got 2 axes control. It works really well.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Uh,
The other part that just ties in real quick is that
yeah.
I'm working with a stereo microscope now, which is new to me, and I'm trying to do more work under the scope. And it just seems like when you're zoomed in, it just magnifies your hand motions,
Right.
Oh
and
yeah.
it's almost
Right.
self-defeating because, like, the
Yeah.
screwdriver's there, and then it's not
Yeah.
there. It's like, oh, you don't have the peripheral vision. So it's just been a learning process, and that's what popped into my head when he asked me the question. So
That's
there you
good.
go.
Yeah.
I'll go down the postage stamps here. So Dayton, what do you think? You put the question, and it's a very good
Yeah.
question. What's your
Well, one thing, I've known Mike now for a year or more, and I think Mike is a very deliberate person. Like everything he does is deliberate, and so I don't think he has the mode shift that I have to go through. And Patrick said something about like when you first receive a watch and you do a quick triage on it. That's my worst moment because I forget that I don't go into the watchmaking mode. I'm like, I just open the mail and I like pulling it out, and I invariably mess things up immediately because I don't like calm down, put it on a movement holder, put on some finger cots. So I constantly need to force
Get in the
myself to
zone.
really change modes. And I catch myself all the time. I'm like, I'm handling this thing like it's a grapefruit, and it's ridiculous. Like you have to switch into like a different mode, and it. I think I could do it just with a ritual of, saying a prayer or something before, like, there's got to be that mode change. But
you need to use kung fu, right?
Or
Don't
get
you?
some Zen, right?
Yeah. What about
Yeah,
you? What about
little
you, Patrick?
watchmaker's mantra.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Watchmakers.
when I first started, I started on a Seiko 2517B, which is a ladies' watch, because I didn't want to spend a lot in the hobby. And so I'll give you the long story. And then, I was deathly scared because everything's twice as hard on the women's watch if you guys ever worked on one.
Many
And
times.
especially in automatic, and it probably took me a week to put that back together because their calendar works has like 2 or 3 different springs that aren't really held down in any way. You just have to get everything just right in order to put that, and then have it hold together long enough so you can get that plate on it so those things don't ping off. Nonetheless, I guess my biggest thing is, um, I think, you know, once I kind of got over the hump that, okay, well, I can get parts now, and I have a whole stash of stuff. So if a screw goes flying or if I break something, I can, hey, I'll get another one. I got a donor movement, whatever. And, it's still a learning process. I'm not a professional. And I think the security of having spare parts available in the stash, like I was working on that Mito, right? And the balance cock, the spring that held the, I'm trying to think, the hairspring pin, the little micro screw came out in my basket. I actually found it like 2 or 3 times or weeks later as I was dumping other stuff out. But nonetheless, I just, okay, well, I'll just go get a new screw. Like normally, if that was your only watch that you're working on, that's a showstopper. Now you can't put it back together because you don't have that screw, right? But for me, it's, oh, okay, I'll just go back to my little micro screw stash. That looks like it'll work. Put it in there, and and off I went. No big deal.
Yeah, it's for you. It's the confidence and understanding that if you screw something up, you can replace a part. You can, the stress is not there, right?
Right.
If you're, I find, well, Chris, I'll let Chris go next, okay, and then I'll talk.
Well, that was part of it. Let me say that real quick, and that's part of it. And once I kind of evolved, but I can't, like, if I can't drink coffee, like Mike said, I mean, because my hands shake too much, and I can't. And I mean, my hand would be like this, and it's like I can't maneuver stuff good enough. So,
what industry are you in for work?
I'm an electrical engineer.
One of me,
so yeah. Well, I'm not. I'm actually electrical engineering technology is why. I mean, I guess I'm a full electrical engineer, if you will. It's more hands-on. I was specialize. I was supposed to specialize in industrial controls. I got a bachelor of science out of that, and right now I got into heavy industry at power plants. So for 5 years I used to work for Siemens Energy. I was a field engineer that did inspections on turbo generators from gas turbines and steam turbines. Large equipment. Hundreds of megawatts.
You're naturally technical then. So
yeah,
in your job, you're naturally technical, right? So you're a curious individual.
Yeah.
So watchmaking is a perfect hobby for you, right?
Yeah. Well, I started watching that on YouTube, and it just fascinated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then, and I started picking up watches before I actually got good at fixing them.
So I'm gonna cut you off because I'm gonna facilitate.
Sure.
This. So Chris, what do you think? Do you drink before you do watchmaking, or?
Yeah, I like a good bourbon. No, so no coffee, just like everyone else. It gives you the shakes. Every little bit of fine motor skill matters. I have a little kid, so I only play watchmaking at night from 9:30 or so for an hour every night. So by that point, all the caffeine's worn off, and I'm in the right mindset. It's just very relaxing. Gets me ready to turn in for the night. Couple of tips I've learned in the last couple of years to really get in the good mindset. Don't take on too many projects at the same time. I know it's tempting, like, well, I'm going to open up this watch. I'm going to get it to the point. I'm going to put it in the case over here, but it's still in your head, right? Now you're going to start on a different project, and now you got 4 or 5 different watches, and you're losing track of where everything is. And then you just want to get done with this one so you can move on to that one because the part just came in. That's very stressful. It takes a lot of mental energy. And then you have this temptation to rush through the project you're on so you can return to the one that you just got the part in for. That's a dangerous game. Just watch that temptation. My rule is no more than 2 concurrent projects. If there's one waiting parts, that's fine. I'm working on a current one. I got one on standby. That's it. Be very disciplined with your movements. especially for situations where you're correcting the beat error. We all know how hard and frustrating that can be, especially for fixed balances or fixed stud carriers, where it's the 12th time you've now pulled the balance off and now you're tweaking the thing, and who knows if you went too far the other way or you didn't go far enough, and you put it back on, and now you're just like, I'm gonna slap the thing back on, put it back on time grapher, pull it back off, and now you're just roughhousing with the movement in a way, right? So you're not as careful as you were the first 2 or 3 times. Just
and you
always
never,
keep in mind.
And you never really know whether you're left or right of where it needs to be, right?
No, you never know.
There's got to be a tool or a technique to figure whether you're left or right of center for beat error, so you don't have to keep playing that nudge game to get it dead center and go, okay, I got it at 0.7 is close enough, okay? So because you know the next time you're on the other side of it.
They actually make a good tool for that, and I picked them up. So I can show it to you guys, so you don't have to use any goofy screwdrivers or.
So while you're tool hunting for a second, so what I do is when I'm making videos, and just like what Dayton was saying, when I'm making videos, I have to concentrate. So when I open a watch up that's not my watch, it's a customer's watch, I won't work on it unless I am already naturally relaxed. So it'll be a Saturday morning for me. So after my coffee wears off, I usually wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'll start around 10 o'clock, and I'll work till 3 sometimes or 4, right, on the weekend. And sometimes when I'm really keen, I'll do 2 days in a row. And it's a customer's watch. And when you're talking about it and making a video, you have you are in a controlled and you're very deliberate as you're describing what you're doing. So that slows you down, right, as you do it. And I try not to miss any steps. I'm not perfect, right? I've made some mistakes and missteps, and I've assembled watches before, like pretty complex watches, not pocket watches, but watches before, and found that I missed a screw, and then had to take the damn thing back, like take it apart, layers apart, and then get the screw back, and then layers back in again, and that just so I'm very deliberate too, right? And
I made a video where I literally had the whole movement assembled. I forgot to put in the hacking lever.
Yeah, so
the whole thing
you've been there, and then you're so frustrated because you're like, oh my god, like I was there, right? I fixed it.
Yeah,
it's there,
I was like, damn it.
So what tool here's
that tool. I don't know if you guys can see if that focuses in, but it's got a little tab. I don't know. How's that?
Those are for nudging, like sticking in the crack there of the collet, right?
But this is what's so nice is that they're to the size of the collet for the hairspring, and it's square, so it doesn't split. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It doesn't split, the collet.
Yeah.
So these are really expensive, but I felt that these were invaluable. I got them. Well, Esslinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess I was looking for a third one. This was during COVID, and I found Otto Fry had the other one. So one of them are Bergeon, and the other 2 are Horatech. So it's $130 worth of tools. It's always
tricky though, but you're trying to move it a fraction of a degree, and you don't know if it's to the left or to the right, and you got to do a little trial and error and see if the beat error grew or not, and then you go back, double back the other way, But it's 5-6 times, and you just have to be careful. The last thing
Dayton, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the last thing I was going to mention too is temper expectations. So like you get a watch running, and it looks like it's running well. Let it run in for 24 hours. Yeah. Let the oil settle in. Check it in different positions because you're not done yet. So get the watch running. It looks like it's running well. Just don't expect to be done yet. And if you do expect that you're done and then you're disappointed by the results, then you're really going to be let down. So just keep those expectations tempered.
Well, that Gruen that I was showing you guys earlier, that was actually a week's worth of work because it was in such poor shape. I had to order parts and stuff for it, and I got it running, and actually I found that one of the fork horns on the pallet fork were bent, and it really got down into a rabbit hole. And then I found that it was a different type of roller table that was on there. And so the roller jewel actually was bigger. So somebody in the past made it work. So they bent the fork horn on the pallet to accept the bigger roller jewel. So then naturally I got it running, but it wasn't running well. I couldn't get it in the beat. The time, I mean, it was running well, but it was just I don't know, the time grapher couldn't pick up the beat, and I kind of put it aside because I got frustrated because I had to take a break from it, and then now I'm back on it. and I want to try to get this pallet fork in there and see if I can actually get the slide, because I took a pallet fork from a donor movement, but the pallets didn't fit that balance or escapement or the escape wheel. It was actually, it wouldn't lock and unlock. Yeah. There was no slide.
Hey, Patrick, you're saying something that I think might be interesting, because I had the same experience. I opened a watch recently that I bought for like $10, and the balance wheel was not traversing and moving the fork back and forth. And I looked at it very carefully, and I realized that the like you're saying, the pins on the fork were too close together, and the balance jewel just couldn't fit in there. So I wedged them apart just a tiny bit, like stuck a screwdriver in there when it was out of the movement, the balance fork, just to get them to open up a tiny bit, and then I got it moving. But the thing is, that suggests, just like what you found, that someone else was in there and did something weird to it. And if you get into a watch like that, I think you may never get it to run again because somebody put the wrong part in it. Or I just thought of that listening to you. Like, I ordered a new balance wheel for this one, and I haven't got it running yet. But if it doesn't run, I'm going to be like, I don't know if that pallet fork is right. Like, I'm not going to.
So it wasn't the jewel size then, Dayton?
It could be. It could be that they put the wrong balance in it, and the impulse jewel was too big. Yeah. Or it could be that they put the wrong pallet fork in it. Or it could be. I was like, how would you crush the pallet fork pins like that? But it's interesting that Patrick ran across the same thing.
Do you have a jewel gauge? Do you have a gauge you can put in the mouth of the pallet fork? Because there is a jewel.
I do.
There's
a special tool.
Slide in, right? And then you measure it, and that's for selecting the right impulse jewel.
It looks like a feeler gauge.
So it's a feeler. It looks
like and it's 4 joules.
Yeah,
hey, I wanted to ask.
You're definitely addicted there, Patrick. I can tell.
Yeah. Well, actually,
you mentioned a tool and you got it right.
Well, this actually, and I do want to talk to you. Sorry to steal your thunder, Dayton, but I was reading a book. Was it Henry Freed, and or was it the one guy from England? I don't know. One of the two guys, and it was on that Gruen 707. I actually wanted to round the end of a pivot using a lantern, and he described a burnisher that was super small, and I actually made my own little burnisher so I could round the ends of the pivot using a lantern.
I have one of those.
Well, I had to make it because I don't know where they also make a little.
I bought one. No,
this is flat.
No, the one I bought is like a stick, right? It's a round stick at the very end.
I know which. It's got a cap jewel in it, right? It's got a dome in it.
Little teeth on there, and they're so fine that you put it on the end of your pivot and you turn it.
Well, this is how to do it manually, to actually go around using that and actually make a concave on the end of a pivot. So I actually
do it on a J-Cut.
Yeah, so you have a jacket, Patrick?
Yeah, I do.
How you did it?
Yeah, but that's what it's for. That's how you do it that's what you use your lanterns for. That's to either shorten the end of the pivot or dome it. And I was reading there how he did that, and I had to make my own little tool because you can't buy them. So
yeah, tool making.
And then
Dayton, were you going to say something there?
Oh, just that Kali Slav, he has a YouTube channel called Chronoglide. About a week ago,
that guy.
he on a live stream he was talking about that.
I'm
tool
the one who asked that. I'm the one who asked that.
Because somebody asked him if he ever used the Jack-O tool to do the end polishing,
right.
And he said he used that instead.
Yeah. And I actually waited for that tool because I had a watch I was working on that I thought it was running. The speed dial up and dial down were slightly different, and I thought maybe it's the actual pivot touching the cap jewel, and maybe I can round that out properly, right? And I didn't. Putting it on the J-Cut tool or jacket tool, that's American for J-Cut, I think. So
that's the jacket tool. That's it. Buddy.
Someone said it's pronounced Jacko.
You Americans, J-Cut tool.
Jacket.
I'm like,
jacket
speak
tool.
American. Speak American.
You gotta be more the J-Co tool, right? So. And then
you and you Canadians in your seats, Jules.
We do a J-Cut, eh? So I found that anyway, I wanted to round it out properly so it would hit the cap jewel properly on both sides. It actually helped. So, and I found a difference. Right?
It makes a big,
it was
yeah, it's a big difference.
The data was closer, right? So our meeting ends in 15 minutes, by the way. So is there anyone that wants to talk about something specific, like a topic that they want to cover today?
I was going to say, let me mention one more thing, JD, on one of your comments on your tools. Your electric, this little tool that you said was worthless, right?
Yes.
This one.
I can bring mine out too, and we can call them both worthless.
No, these actually work really good.
Good for
but
one thing.
Well, yeah, on waterproof cases, right? That you can't. But I'm saying these actually work really good.
That's
but the
good.
trick is, I guess you have to actually put these on stone and sharpen the teeth.
Yeah.
So
I got this one here, right? You've seen
that.
you guys have
Well,
all
this
seen
is
these before.
this is the Chinesium.
You actually pick this up and you rotate it, and it gives you the different sizes, right?
No,
and then this grabs the actual the crystal. So if you have a crystal mounted or top mounted movement, you need to remove the crystal, and you use this to grab the crystal to remove the crystal from a top mounted movement. This is the only real reason I've found to have it. I bought it years ago thinking you got to have one of these, right? But
yeah,
I got one. It's a real budget special. So look at this. You see how the jaws aren't even.
What the hell is that?
Geez, yeah.
Mine's like the Binford 4000. It's the
Binford 4000.
It's a great tool. It looks cool and it confuses all other watchmakers.
The crazy thing is, this thing actually works. You just have to know, like, this is just flat like this. You just have to hold it crooked. So
that's
maybe next Christmas I can get.
My biggest thing is that you have to. We have to screw it all the way down, and then you put it on the stone in order to sharpen the teeth, and then it grabs the crystal.
Yeah. I've never had to sharpen the teeth. Okay, mine came sharp.
Well, yours. All the vintage tools are better than any of the Chinesium for the most part.
Yeah, mine's a good tool.
So if they're metallic jaws and you're gripping acrylic crystals, how do they ever dull out?
Well, those are aluminum.
That's a trick question there. I can tell.
Well, I think with those imported ones, the one I had, the teeth were crooked to begin with, and they weren't sharp. So it was just a whole mess of different problems. I don't think it was dulled because of the acrylic crystals.
That sounds.
But then I got the vintage tool.
Mike, that sounds like a girlfriend I had once. The teeth were crooked, and I had to sharpen her up. Was they?
Can we talk longer?
Hold on, Dave was going to say something there. I got to manage you there, Patrick. Okay, because you're too keen.
That's fine.
No, I'm not. I'm letting my facial expressions lend too many interpretations. I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, you weren't. So, does anybody have a question or a topic they want to bring up? We've got we got 13 minutes left.
Is the meeting end after that, or?
It's 1 hour unless you have professional Google, right? So Google Meet. So it does end after.
So we just can't call back in.
No. Plus I'm married.
It's 3 in the morning.
That is the most important point.
Yeah.
That's why I will need to be dropping.
Well, though there was a third topic here of diagnosing problems and the ones that you don't typically see, right? And I know that the watch I just worked on that I've told you I've got to re-shellac the jewel in, I was thinking of all kinds of other reasons for the amplitude being low before I realized once again that the jewel could be loose. Like I went through all kinds of other thoughts and running the train and doing all kinds of stuff. And it's hard to run the train, by the way, on a full plate watch. A full plate pocket watch, those are painful, right?
Yeah, because it's all covered.
Yeah, you can't take the pallet fork out, or you can, but it's a lot of work, right? And then run the train and then put the pallet fork in again. It's a lot of work. Those things are like painful, and I seem to always get them from people. Like,
okay. What does running the train mean, please?
What you do is you assemble the watch up to the pallet fork. You don't put the pallet fork in. You just the escapement's the last wheel you put in. Your mainspring is in as well, and you put a very slight wind on your mainspring, a very light wind, so you don't wear your pivots out by spinning the crap out of it. And that's running the train. So if it runs smooth, you have no issues. If it doesn't run smooth, then you should check the leaves of each of the wheels, right? So you've got the pinions, and I found often that even with cleaning, there can be leftover gum or something in those pinion leaves. So you clean the pinion leaves out with your with a stick, right? With what's it called there?
The pegwood.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, sir. With pegwood, and then Rodico them too as well after you've done all that, so everything is absolutely clean. Run the train, and then you've diagnosed. You know that it's not the train. It's providing power, right? And then I've also found sometimes a hairspring can be underneath the balance. The balance cock and just barely touching that balance cock.
Yeah.
So trying to make the hairspring absolutely flat before you do the installation, so you know that might not be the problem, and then just work your way right through to the jewels being the issue, and et cetera, et cetera.
So one common thing, like if you're running the train, there's no paddle fork, right? So you want to look for crisp movement of as soon as you start one click, you see the escape wheel just spring to life, and then it should, just as quickly as it sprung to life, it should come to a stop. It shouldn't like slow and then start limping along and like sputter down into a stop, because then you know you're going to have an issue. And a lot of times it's the barrel arbor bushing, and one of the top or bottom plate or both is worn. You could have an end shake issue. One of your plates could have been one of your jewels damaged, or your a lot of times actually with the older pocket watches, the arbor, the pivots are scored and mushroomed a little bit. So if they're kind of off kilter a little bit because they're worn down, like these are all things that, and also exactly what JD mentioned too, is just a little bit of dirt that's just got left over. That all contributes to it.
Or a slight, like in the pivot and the jewel itself can have a little tiny crack. You got to, I take the jewels, look at them under the microscope, because that little crack will eat that pivot, right? So so that's
or you get a hair, right? You reassemble and a piece of dust just kind of sneaks in.
Speaking of hair, so someone did mention in one of my videos when I did a video on tightening up the cannon pinion, right? Because I had or loosening it actually. So I had a cannon pinion that was way too tight, so I actually loosened it with that pin. And someone mentioned that they used the hair technique, where the cannon pinion is too loose and you put a hair in there, right? I actually used that years ago with an old watch I was working on, and the friggin' thing worked.
It worked. I don't know how long. I mean, that hair will disintegrate at some point, but it works.
It was actually an old watchmaker's trick, and I think it was a guy named Old Hippie on the Watch Repair Talk channel. The guy's name is Old Hippie. He's a professional watchmaker.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been on that channel for years. I go in and out of it, right? And Old Hippie's the guy who told me to try putting a hair in there to tighten it up. Because the old
but isn't the normal thing is you just crush it, right? There's there's special
the
punches for that.
The one I was working on had 3 little leaves that you could crush it with, right? The British one I had didn't have anything. To crush it, it was like a tube, and there was no, other than putting a pin in and hoping you didn't crush it too much. I didn't know how to deal with it, and that's why he said for that movement, he said put a hair in there, right? So. And maybe it was machined. Maybe it wasn't machined to be crushed, but it was an old British movement that I had, right?
So what you normally would do is, if you have a set of these brooches, you slide the cannon pinion on the brooch, and you notice how the brooch is tapered, right? So you put the side of the cannon pinion that you want to crush on the thinner end of it. So that'll allow you to crush the cannon pinion, but not overdo it, right? Because then you'll just snap the thing in half, and then you're toast.
But then you got to be really careful because they're hardened too. So if you go too much, then they'll crack.
And that's what the brooch will help prevent. It'll help. It's a good safety backstop for you. And you're just tapping it lightly anyway, right? Just the slightest bit of tap on the staking set will just deform it. You can't see it with your eye, but then you just slide it right on the center wheel, and you'll know it's good.
Speaking on tapping and stuff, have you guys reduced the hole size on a roller table?
Can't say I have.
So
but
there's the real good trick. I'll be really quick. The good trick in there in your staking set, there's this one stake in there that's got three I don't know what to call them, but knurls or knobs or something on that staking set, and that's for reducing the hole size on your roller table. And it works really well. You put it in your staking set, and you put the roller table down, right, and you punch it. And then you rotate that thing so you end up with six areas that you're punching to reduce the size. And I've had to do that when making a
that looks like
that one. No. Oh wait, no, that is the one. I think that might be the one.
This one has, because this one is something different.
Yeah, it looks like something.
No.
But yeah, you have to be careful though, because if you're not absolutely centered, and Henry Freed goes into that as well. It's like, and then you're in really big trouble.
Yeah. I did that when making a balance staff, right, on a lathe. So I make the balance staff, and I did it, and I was like, and I missed the dimension, right? And I said, okay, I
Huge props to that one,
3
JD.
hours to make another balance staff, or I can just try to reduce the hole, and it worked perfectly, right? It absolutely worked perfectly.
Hey, Chris, I gotta say real quick, you and your Rex famous roller tool. I got this, I got this little Brad O tool for taking off roller tables.
Oh man, I got one of those.
So,
I hate it. I don't go near that
no,
thing.
I like it a lot because good luck getting all the Rex roller tools at a reasonable price and stuff, man.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money for those angry beaver teeth.
I love those beaver teeth.
Yeah.
Again, reminds me of that girlfriend I had in grade whatever. Same one. Mike, you haven't said much. I got to let you talk. We got 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Okay, so boy, topics. I think that the topic we started off with, like, how do you ground yourself before getting into working on watches? I think we touched on a lot of subjects. I'm just going to try to encapsulate a lot of what we just covered. One of them is as you get confident in the hobby, having the tools, having the right tools. Patrick, like you said, having a supply of extra parts. Just knowing what time you're working on watches, getting into that confidence circle. I'm still trying to find when a good time to work is, and I'm struggling very much with. I have so many different types of watches. I don't have a stash of parts yet that fits everything because I'm just dabbling in so many different types of models. But it's
Well, I don't either, but still, I mean, a lot of screws you can make work or whatever. It's just jewels and the donor movements. Sometimes if you buy a good watch off eBay, buy something for $10 or $15 as junk. So hey, I got everything. I got a spare of everything now. So if one part pings off, you can do it again.
Yeah, I'm refusing to accept my spare watches as donors. To me, every one of them you can get running.
I'm the
No, I'm just saying. I mean, if you have a complete watch with a case, I'm not saying use that one, but I'm saying you can buy a lot of donor movements without cases.
Yeah, one big piece of advice for beginners: don't go on eBay and try to buy a lot of things, like a lot of stems, and expect like you to find out of the 100 stems you just bought for $40 that you're going to find the one that'll fit your case. It's just not going to happen. Chances are you're going to spend a lot of money and you're probably not going to find.
There you go, JD.
What do you have there, JD?
Hey, so you guys need to have this little tool for tightening canyon pinions.
I actually have one of those. $300.
That is a good one, yeah.
I actually, when I was young years ago, right, I bought a shitload of Russian watches. So this is buy 50 Russian watches for $50, right? And I found the screws are what I've really used from these. Nothing else, just the screws. So that was a good buy, right? 50 Russian watches. You want to buy watch screws or use them, that's not a bad thing to do. I go in there every now and then, but I'm a screw hunter. I go in, I screw hunt on eBay all the time, right? And I'm also a jewel. I'll also hunt for jewels and settings on eBay all the time. So you just got to do it, right?
But I have to ask you, I mean, you've got 80 lathes. Like, why don't you just make a screw?
You know what? I've never made a screw, Chris.
You got to make a screw. It's so satisfying.
I have so many friggin' screws. Like, I don't know if I'll ever have to make one.
But by the time
make a balance staff, Chris,
you need, and you might not get the screw you need. You could have made the screw you need.
I'll commit to watch one of your videos on how to make a screw because I think you have one, right?
Yeah, I've done it a few times.
I think you do. And I'll make a screw because I know I can do it. I've made a screw for my dunker tank. You guys saw my dunker tank I used years ago that I dunked the thing in, and I've got the two coins and it lowers the balance into the tank, and then you raise it up again. My famous dunker tank. I don't know if you've seen that. I'll have to do a video on it.
No, I've seen it. That was a good one. I love that. That was from a few months back, right?
Yeah, I invented the thing years ago, and I made it out of brass, and I threaded everything to make it, all the things that are in there, and I took two Canadian loonies or whatever, and I used those. I probably will go to jail because it's against the law to do that. But anyway, I think the call is ending in a minute. So in general, thank you very much for coming today.